order in which events are presented in a film, or the placement of the key events, is referred to as the narrative structure. Different films are organised in different ways to best tell the story and engage the audience. But most films will follow the same basic structure, particularly Hollywood films. Usually, we will start with a point of equilibrium. I'll represent that with a circle. Equilibrium. This is a state of balance. Life is going on as it normally should. It could continue like this forever. Maybe there's some little problems here and there, but basically, life's okay. It's normal. However, this is interrupted when we get the trigger. The trigger is the sort of driving event. It's the thing that sets in motion the rest of the narrative. It pushes the story forwards. There's some kind of problem that needs to be solved. And this throws out the equilibrium. And so the majority of the film, the whole sort of middle section of the film, is disequilibrium. For the majority of the film, the characters are trying to solve the problem. Their life isn't in balance. It must be resolved. Things cannot continue like this. And so the characters repeatedly try to solve the problem, but they fail for about 60 minutes until we get to the climax, sometimes referred to as the climax resolution. The climax is the point where they finally do solve the problem. It's this some kind of dramatic moment. It's the culmination of everything that's come before, and it's where the problem is solved, therefore creating new equilibrium. So new equilibrium isn't necessarily the same as the equilibrium at the start. Usually it will be a little bit better, but it's a new balance that can, live happily ever after. So if you think about a few different types of films, let's say a typical action movie, the equilibrium at the beginning might be, a cop who's on his last day, it's his last day on the force, and he thinks it'll be a nice quiet day. However, the trigger is some kind of violent psychopath starts targeting him, and he's the only one who can solve the crime. Disequilibrium is what's created. The cop and the villain, they face off and try to defeat each other. But even though they have some narrow scrapes, they never actually manage to defeat the other. And finally, the climax resolution is where there's the big final showdown, some kind of big shootout between the cop and the villain as they finally face each other, face to face. And of course the cop wins, and so new equilibrium is created. He retires a hero, the villain has been thwarted. We can also apply this same structure to a romantic comedy though. So in this case, the equilibrium would be that there's a klutzy girl who is unlucky in love, and she's too focused on her career, because of course that's not what women are meant to do, focus on their career. She must find something better than this, but life can go on like this. She can be a bitter old spinster forever. The trigger comes when she discovers, she meets this guy, and he's a jerk and he's foul and he gets on her nerves and they don't like each other at all. Disequilibrium is the majority of the film as they try to find a way to live with each other. Maybe they're working together. Somehow they're thrown into each other's faces all the time. They hate each other. They pull pranks on each other. They try and get the upper hand with the other. A few moments they start to think maybe there's more to this person, but it never amounts to enough, because as soon as one takes a step forward, the other takes a step back. And so that's the disequilibrium. Life cannot continue this way. Until finally we have a climax. One of them finally realizes how they feel. They profess their love, probably the guy to the girl, professes his love, wins her over, convinces her that they are meant to be, and the new equilibrium is created as we see her quit her job and get married and live happily ever after with Prince Charming. So you can see this basic structure is... Sorry, I can't fit it all on one screen. This basic structure is typical of many different genres, many different films, should be very familiar to you. So have a think about the films that you're studying. Do they fit this structure, or do your films subvert the structure and try something different?